Billie Jean King's illustrious career featured 39 Grand Slam championships, but her story reaches way beyond the baseline.
And that was my moment where I decided I would spend the rest of my life fighting for equality.
An advocate for all, the tennis legend has spent much of her life as a pioneer for gender equality.
I said, Mom, and they go, what does it mean to be a lady? She says, well, you know. And I said, I don't know.
In our exclusive interview with a Hall of Famer, we discuss why she does it and where we go from here.
Pressure's a privilege, and champions adjust in life. I'm not talking just sports.
This is Billie Jean King, elevating the conversation about gender in sports, brought to you by Geico. Here's your host, Trenni Kusnierek.
Welcome into our conversation with Billie Jean King. Billie, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to kind of start in the past and sort of move forward in your evolution as a feminist, as an athlete, as an advocate and activist. So let's start back in the 1950s when
Yikes.
a lot of girls didn't play sports. So what drew you to sports initially?
I was born with sports in my blood because it was the third word I ever learned after mom and dad was ball. And my mom said I was active my whole life before I was born even. And then I have a younger brother, 5 years younger, and he was the same way exactly. And my dad loved basketball, you know, and my mother loved swimming.
So how did you pick tennis?
Actually, a friend of mine in 5th grade, Susan Williams, who sat right next to me, asked me, and she said, do you want to play tennis? And I go, what's tennis? And she said, you get to run, jump, and hit a ball. And I said, oh, those are my 3 favorite things in sports. I'll try it. But she played at a country club. Her family had money. And I thought, this is fun, but I'm not going to be able to play. I can't. And Susan told Val Halloran, the coach, oh, I took Billie out to play tennis. And she said, well, we have free instruction here every Tuesday at Houghton Park in Long Beach, California, where I was born and raised. Well, I'm there. But my dad made me earn the money for my first racket, though.
Yeah, your father was very influential on you.
Very influential. If you listen to most girls, a lot of times it is their father, but we need more mothers too doing that. And we've got all kinds of Title IX babies now that have come and gone through the system since the 70s, and I think they're doing more than before, in the 50s before Title IX.
How long did it take your mom to get on board and be with your dad and want you to be an athlete and see that as an actual future for you?
There was no future really in those days. It was pretty amateur. There was no professionalism. And my mother was fine with tennis because that was more ladylike. She did make me stop playing touch football in the front yard because it wasn't ladylike, and that really got me steamed. I was really upset with her. I said, Mom, and they go, what does it mean to be a lady? She says, well, you know. And I said, I don't know. I said, I love football. The guys love me to play because they give me the ball because I get cut really quickly.
If someone asked you now and said, what does it mean to be a lady? What would you say?
I wouldn't know. Just be yourself. Just be authentic. Whatever that equals, that's fine. The one thing I didn't like, though, I didn't like to be called a tomboy. I hated it. Because what do you call a boy? You know, he's a great athlete, he's well coordinated. So am I. I just happen to be a female, a girl. Big whoopee.
You talked about when you first started playing tennis that you went with Susan Williams.
Yes.
And you looked around and all the kids were wearing white shoes, white socks, white uniforms, and you said, well, hold on a minute here.
Where's everybody else?
Where's everybody else?
Yeah, I did.
Where did that come from? At 11 or 12?
And actually, when I was 12, I played tennis one year, and I was daydreaming at the Los Angeles Tennis Club where they had all the big tournaments. Yeah. Everybody in tennis wore, you know, white shoes, white socks, white clothes, played with white balls, and everybody played as white. And then I did ask this at 12 years old, where is everybody else? Where's everybody else? And that was my moment where I decided I would spend the rest of my life fighting for equality for all. If I hadn't had that epiphany at 12, I always wonder how I would have led my life. I'm sure I would have become number 1 in tennis, but that wasn't what was important to me. What can I do with tennis? It's more like asking myself, instead of what can I get out of life, what can I give to life? What can I give? What can I do with my life? And I'm one of the lucky ones that I knew tennis was worldwide. I knew it was global, but that was a platform for me through sports to help be this kind of influencer. So it's like, I think you can do so much if, you know, some people are more blessed than others with opportunities. And I was so blessed to have tennis and to be able to travel, that I knew I was one of the lucky ones that maybe I can help change the world, make it a better place. I didn't know. I was going to try the rest of my life. I'm still trying. I'm not trying is the wrong word. I'm still in it.
Coming up,
semantics are powerful.
Billie Jean explains why the words we choose can be harmful, even if they are said with good intentions.
Guys don't ever say that. They don't say that. I'm telling you, it's not in their vocabulary, and I like it.
You are watching an exclusive one-on-one interview with tennis legend Billie Jean King, all part of the CSN initiative TOMBOY, elevating the conversation about gender in sports. An amazing project which includes a special 1-hour documentary on this important issue. Welcome back to Billie Jean King, elevating the conversation. Brought to you by Geico, here is your host, Trenni Kusnierek.
You know, it's one thing to want to try and change the world, to have this vision to do it, but it's another to actually accomplish it, especially when you have so many people who are against you. I mean, you know, I was reading that Bobby Wilson, he's a British journalist, he said that you charged around the court like a man and that tennis was changing. That's great. So you think that that's great?
It's great because there's some great women before me that were serving volleyers. Alice Marble, who taught me and won the Triple Crown in 1939, was a serving volleyer. So we were already doing that before. I learned from all these people: Maria Bueno, Darlene Hart, Althea Gibson. Althea Gibson's one of my sheroes because she was the first person of color in tennis that won a major. So she's our Jackie Robinson of tennis. It doesn't get enough. Here's a woman who doesn't get enough attention. And then Suzanne Lenglen, back in the early 1900s and the 1920s, she was the first superstar in tennis, period. Okay, and do you ever hear about that she was the first superstar? Never. If she were a guy, you'd be hearing about it. And that's why I get upset, yeah.
So how do we get people to pay attention to women? How do we get men
You have to be
and
skilled.
women?
Skilled, more money, more investment, more enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is just and long-term investment. Men will put billions of dollars in men's sports, but if women don't make it in a year and a half or 2 years, they go, oh, I'm losing money, I'm getting rid of it. Oh, we're losing money on the men's sport. You got to put the time investment, the emotional investment, the financial investment, long-term if you're going to change things. That's why Title IX is absolutely changed the world.
And your husband, Larry King, back in
my former husband,
your
yes.
former husband, was so supportive of you.
Oh, he's great.
How important is that? It seems almost counterintuitive, but how important is it to have men?
Oh, it's very important. But my father was huge. My dad was amazing because he treated Randy and me, Randy being my brother who played 12 years of Major League Baseball, he treated us the same. He would tell us to, you know, like my dad would say, believe in yourself. You know, you're just as important as your brother. I mean, he gave me all this reinforcement, and my mother loved it too because she didn't have to say much. She was like, great, because she was a peacemaker, if anything, in the house.
Is it still that way?
Oh, yeah. We're taught to be perfect, women. Who can be perfect, boy or girl? Nobody. Nobody can be perfect. Girls are taught to be perfect, and boys are taught to be brave. That's not fair to the boys either. We all should be taught to be brave, but it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel, it's okay. Little boys are so sensitive and so cute, and then they get pounded by society to change. They have to brag all the time. I'm better than you. If you sit at a table with a bunch of guys, that's all it is telling stories about, oh, wait till you hear this one. Oh, I did this. And it's like, they're taught that.
How much does the language that we use around boys, around girls, as opposed
Huge.
to people, how much does that
Semantics.
influence the way we view everybody else?
Semantics are powerful. They are powerful. So think about what you say. I try to keep this pretty much the same thing to either gender or wherever how a child self-identifies, because their identity is really important to them, and I want to make sure that I have empathy for that and understand it. It's not even empathy, just know that's what they want. So I think that's important, but words are, well, if you hear tomboy, then I used to think, tomboy, what does that mean? I'm not a boy, I'm a girl. You know, I'm not a Tom, or, you know, I didn't like that.
Is there a better word?
What do we say about a boy? Oh, he's a great athlete, or he's coordinated, or boy, he can run like the wind. The same stuff. Like when a girl runs, I go, oh, God, you're so quick, you're so fast. Boom, that's what I'd say to a little boy. I say, oh, or you're so strong. Wow, That's why when you talk to the little ones, they love it. They eat it up. They can't get enough. I just say the same things to both genders, or all genders, because I think it's important to help any child to be the best they can be, and have self-confidence. Here's a VIP cocktail party. The woman comes up to me. I go, oh, what do you do? And she thinks I mean sports, which I don't. I mean anything. But let's say we're in the sports area. She goes, I'm not any good, but I like X, Y, and Z. But here's how invariably a woman says, I'm not any good. Because she's not perfect, right? So you're not any good. A guy will come up to me and I'll go, well, what do you do? And if we're talking sports, he'll go, oh, I like baseball or this, but sometimes a guy will say, well, I couldn't hit the curveball, so I couldn't make the majors, but you know, I'm pretty good at this, and I do this, and I like that sport, He doesn't come up to me and say, I'm not any good. I've had one male in my whole lifetime say he wasn't any good. I about fainted. Okay, now if I'm hearing this my whole life, because I started picking up on this, I'm like, what is going on here? Girls have to speak up. Girls have to find their voice. I tell every child I teach tennis, especially girls, I'll go, I want you to hear your own voice. I want you to hear your own voice. Not your mom's, dad's, coach, guardian, friend. I want you to hear your voice. Your voice is so important to find your voice. I mean, I didn't have my voice for years. If you look at old interviews, I talk like this. I'm really soft because I'm very careful.
Most people tend to be overwhelmed with some of the feminists who exaggerate. Like any movement in the beginning is usually an extreme or an exaggeration.
I'm trying to fight for women. Don't want to get people ticked off because you want them to listen. You want them to go away and think about things. You know, it's like a tightrope.
But you still fought. I mean, you started in the early 1970s.
How do you fight? How do you fight? Because if you get a person upset, they don't hear anymore. If you attack a person, if you use the word you first, they don't hear you. So how do I reach somebody to want them to change their minds, change their hearts and minds about something? It is really hard. And every generation has to fight for this equality and for this freedom. I think Coretta King's, and I don't have the quote correct, but it's a great quote about every generation has to fight and win freedom. Every generation has to go through it.
So before you had found your voice, why did you feel that income equality and fighting for equal pay back in the early 70s, why was that fight so important to you? What did that signify? It's
the message, not the money. It's about equality. We still don't make the same we don't make the same. We don't get equal pay for equal work still. Forget sports, I'm talking about just in everyday life. And what's really hard, let's say you're a single mother. You get less money and you have children. And children equal boys and girls, everybody, right? Everybody. That means you can't provide for your babies as well. So why wouldn't you want to give everybody equal pay for equal work? It's about the message that's the right thing to do. It really is the right thing to do. If people really go away, if CEOs go away and look in the mirror and really ask yourself, if I were a woman, would I want to be paid less? If I were a boy, would I want to be paid less than a woman? It's not right. It just isn't right, especially in this day and age. Get a grip.
You know, while we're still fighting and women are still paid less on the dollar than men, where are the places that we have made strides? Because obviously things are different. I wouldn't even be sitting here with you in 1973.
Are you a Title IX baby?
I'm a Title IX baby.
What did you do?
I played softball.
Great. What position?
I was a terrible. See, there we go. I was a terrible third baseman. But I was a good swimmer and I'm a good runner. So
good. But did you see how you put the word terrible?
I did.
Guys don't ever say that. They don't say that. I'm telling you, it's not in their vocabulary, and I like it. Women have to act more like boys in this area.
It's such a default.
Yes, you're giving up on yourself. It's so amazing how we do that. God, you've played. That's great.
Still ahead, Billie Jean King was one of the most decorated tennis players of her time. But there's one match in particular that comes to mind when you hear her name.
Oh yeah, that's the understatement.
What is going through your mind the night before or the morning
before?
of?
How about 2 months ahead? Tight, choke.
Welcome back to our exclusive one-on-one with Billie Jean King, brought to you by Geico.
American women are the most privileged group of all time in history, and they're still not satisfied. They want more. First thing you know, guys are getting married pretty soon, won't be able to get out once a week for a poker game. They won't be able to go away for weekend duck hunting trips or for camping vacations, and they'll have to be playing bridge and going to concert with their wives, and they'll be enslaved.
When a lot of people think of Billie Jean King, they think of the battle of the sexes. So there's so much riding on this match with Bobby Riggs.
Oh yeah, that's the understatement.
What is going through your mind the night before or the morning
Before?
of?
How about 2 months ahead? Tight, choke. I was really really anxious and nervous 2 months out, but this is typical of me. As I get closer and closer to the match, I get calmer and calmer. And by the time I went out there, I was totally ready, because the night before, Randy claims this, okay? He goes, "Sis," he calls me sis, "you called me on the phone and you told me to bet the house on the match." I said, "I did?" He said, "Yeah, you told me you were going to win and you told me to bet the house." What? Rosie Casals, who was one of the commentators, said she came into the locker room at the Houston Astrodome 20 minutes before the match to see how I was doing. And she told me, "How are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to win." And I don't remember that. So I'm totally was in the zone by then. I had to be in the zone. This was a one moment in time. You'd only get one moment for these kind of things. I knew this was everything, because I would think about if I lost, we could lose women's professional tennis, which is closer, but it would hurt Title IX. I thought it would weaken it, so you never know what's going to happen there. And every time I walked out the door, the rest of my life, everybody would have said, "You lost that match."
39 Grand Slam titles between doubles and singles for you. But when we say the name Billie Jean King, what comes to mind
of course, it's had the most exposure. But you know why I got so much exposure for that? Why do you think? 95% of the media is controlled by men. And because I was a men's arena finally, not playing against other women, I'm in a men's arena, everybody was interested. It is phenomenal. And it's just natural. I'm not blaming anybody. It's natural. But it's about them. All of a sudden, if there's a male involved, now it's about them. Now they're interested. But I knew it was about social change. Title IX had just passed the year before. It was vital that we protect Title IX, and I knew it was really important to win that match.
The first time, though, that you were asked, you said no.
Oh, no, he followed me around for over 2 years. So then he started asking Chris Everett, Nancy Ritchie, I think, Rosie Casals. Margaret Court took him up for the money and then lost on Mother's Day 1973, and as soon as she lost, we're in our third year of women's professional tennis. Professional tennis didn't come around until 68, and that's another fight we had, and we got that. And then I wanted the men and women to be together as one association or one union. Mm-hmm. The men rejected us. I went back to them because they're really great friends, and they said, "No, get lost." And we had less and less tournaments to play in, because Larry had told me what would happen if we went to pro tennis. He said they will drop all the women's tournaments and give all the money to the men. He was correct. That was starting to happen. So plan B, 9 of us signed a $1 contract in 1970 with Gladys Hellman, and that's the birth of women's professional tennis in 1970. Title IX is only 37 words. It's not too tough for young people, old people, all of us to look it up. And it says no sex discrimination. That means for boys or for girls, by the way. Everyone thinks it's a girl thing. We were so far behind, it ended up being that. But believe me, you have to honor the boys and the girls equally.
So at what point did you realize the cultural significance and the long-standing significance of your win?
I knew 2 months out. I knew as soon.
Before the match?
Oh, way before. No, I knew exactly when I said yes to the match. Oh, no, I understood. I love history. I appreciate history. I've always had my sheroes and heroes in history. So I knew this. I was going to have so much exposure. It was 90 million people. It's like a Super Bowl opportunity, and everybody was talking about it, making bets. And most people are too young today, but the people who could remember, they remember how everybody was talking about it. And here's what happened from that match. Women come up to me, and this has happened forever since the match. "Billie, that match gave me self-confidence, and it gave me my voice for the first time. First time. I actually asked for a raise. I have been wanting to ask for a raise for 10 years, was one of the examples. And I said, more importantly, did you get the raise? And she said, yes, I did. But let's think, if I'd asked earlier, I should have had enough confidence in myself to do that. Here's what happens with men that come up to me. If they saw it when they were young, they're the ones that cry usually, by the way, not the women. The women are all like exuberant. But the men will start getting tears in their eyes because they'll go, I saw that match when I was 14. I saw that when I was 18. I saw it when I was 12. And now I have a daughter. That match changed how I'm raising my daughter. I want my daughter and sons to have equal opportunity now. I know I would have never thought like that if I hadn't seen that match. That match changed my whole thinking, my life as a father, as a man. And President Obama saw it when he was 12. He said, that helped shape my thoughts on how I've raised the two girls.
You know what?
I mean, it's just, these are the stories I constantly get.
Coming up,
I'm always hypervigilant. Yes, I'm always hypervigilant, but I try. Here, I'm not as scared.
it's not easy being on the forefront of the fight for equality. No one knows that better than Billie Jean King. She shares her advice for those looking to invoke change next. Welcome back to Billie Jean King, elevating the conversation. Brought to you by Geico, here is your host, Trenni Kusnierek.
At any point through all of this, did you ever feel like saying, you know what, I'm done. I've achieved what I need to achieve. I'm just going to give up. It's too much.
Oh, no. I'm too driven. No, I've never had that, no. Because I still have a better life than most people because of it. I've had most unbelievable opportunities. When Serena or Venus or any player gets a huge check, I know we're the reason we started it. Without us, they wouldn't be getting those checks. I mean, what's better than that?
You love speaking to young people. You speak at a commencement address every year.
I love hearing them, actually.
What message do you have, particularly for this next generation who might be babies of Title IX or don't know what you fought for? What do you tell, not just young women, but young men
There's
that you speak with?
There's three things. A friend and mentor, Ed Willard, who was the former CEO of DuPont, and he and I always have these discussions like, who has inner success as well as outer success? Inner being just as important, if not more important to me personally, as outer success. And there's three things we came up with. Relationships are everything. To yourself, to your higher power, whatever your belief system is, to your friends, your family. Number two, never stop learning. And never stop learning how to learn. And number three, be a problem solver. Get in the solution, be a problem solver. Those three things that we've found, most people have inner and outer success.
Billie Jean King, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Give me,
a
give me
fist
the palm.
bump.
Yeah, baby.
From the young kids, we hear you're lit.
Oh, I like it. Yes. Thank you.
You've been watching an exclusive one-on-one interview with tennis legend Billie Jean King, all part of the CSN initiative Tomboy, elevating the conversation about gender in sports.
When you look at our network, CSN, dedicating an hour to a documentary called Tomboy, which is taking a look at gender equality in sports, what does that say about how far we've come?
No, I was thinking it was so needed when I read it. You know, then I thought, Tomboy, I hate that name. And then, but the lines through it, I love that. So I thought this will be great because people really don't stop and think about it very much. They fall into it, and then what are we going to do now and then in the future with that name? I'd like to get rid of it. You know, it'd be great if we just